right, everybody, welcome back to the Comedy Castle podcast. I'm Joel Fregameny. I'm going to tell you what's going on this week at the Comedy Castle in Royal Oak, Michigan, Mark Ridley's Comedy Castle, to make it official. First full week of the new year. And Geoff Tate will be my guest today. He's our headliner, and it's a pretty simple week. We've got open mic for you on Wednesday, January 8th at 7:30 p.m. You can show up, get your ticket at the door. It's $5, and there's always a great lineup at open mic night. In fact, I'll give you a little preview of the open mic this week. We have a married duo, Jason and Amanda Phelan Merez. They are working together to MC. I've never seen the dual act. I've seen Jason, of course, a bunch of times. I've seen Amanda on her own. But together, as a married couple hosting the show, it's a first. I can't remember a married couple ever hosting the open mic together. That should be a real treat at 7:30 p.m., January 8th. And then starting on Thursday, January 9th, Geoff Tate comes in. 5 shows as normal with our headliners, 7:30 p.m. on Thursday the 9th. Saturday, January 10th, 7:15 and 9:45 p.m. And then 7 p.m. and 9:30 are the shows on Saturday the 11th. Geoff's got Dan Seabury as his feature. That's a guy I think that is coming at Geoff's recommendation. And Ali Ahmed, who has been with us before, and he's a real swell comic, nice dude, like Ali a lot. It's going to be a great weekend. And I got to tell you, I really like Geoff Tate. I'll tell you more about Geoff in a second. But let's talk about maybe a little bit of what happened. First of all, we hope everybody's having a happy new year. I guess I should have probably done that at the top. I'm not redoing this open. I'm 2 minutes in. I'm rolling with it. We hope everybody had a great, happy New Year. We had a great New Year's show with Zach Martina. A couple great New Year's shows. Zach Martina, Richard Mathis, and Greg Sharp kicked it off strong, and they rang in the New Year great. I hope you, if you didn't join us on New Year's Eve and you sat around, you're like, I didn't really do anything fun New Year's Eve, you should have come to the Comedy Castle. Those were awesome shows. Everyone had a great time. I had a blast. I really enjoy working at the club New Year's Eve. As much as you go, wow, wouldn't you rather be doing something else on New Year's Eve? I like bringing it in at the Comedy Castle. It's always a good time. Everyone's in a great mood. We had some great shows with Zach. Now, of course, if you listened to the show last week, we interviewed Zach, and the plan was that Zach Martina would be the headliner over the weekend. But, of course, that didn't happen. Zach fell ill, apparently, sometime after the New Year's show, and we had to find a replacement at the last minute, and Dan Britton stepped up. Dan, a friend of mine, a man who was taking my advanced comedy class, who I've gone out to dinner with him and his wife, a guy I consider a personal friend, rose up and with just hours' notice said, I will headline this weekend, and he stepped in, and for the first time, he headlined the Comedy Castle and was absolutely fantastic. So, Dan, it was a tremendous accomplishment for any comedian to headline. And not just that, but to do it for the first time and do it as well as you did, man. That was a special weekend, man. And I know he thanked everybody over on Facebook, and it was real nice to see his gratitude. But Dan's a real nice guy and a really hilarious comedian. If you've never checked out Dan Britton's comedy, he's supposed to be headlining in, I think, November. So I don't know if that November date's going to happen. If it does, I'm having him on this show. But yeah, it was really great talking to Dan. I'm just having Dan at the club. I want to talk to Dan on this show. I talk to Dan all the time off the air, but we'll get Dan on this show. He's awesome. Ken Whitskall, super strong feature. Kenny's one of the funniest dudes around, man. Sang the national anthem to start one of the shows. Although he didn't quite do it right. It was quite hilarious. Love Ken. And of course, Greg Sharp continued his thing, man. One of the best guys around. You need a guy to MC something, get your Greg Sharp. Great joke writer, super great host. Love Greg Sharp. Love all those guys. What a great start to the year. And I think this weekend, guys, this weekend's going to be just as good, if not, you never say better, but what are we going to do? Go on about last week that you can't see anymore? We got to talk about this week because Geoff Tate's your headliner. I was unaware of Geoff Tate. I did not know him. You'll hear me tell him that on this interview. But after doing some research, I think I came up with some pretty good questions for him. And, man, we hit it off like a house on fire, man. It's like, what you're going to hear for the next 30 minutes with Geoff Tate is two guys becoming friends. That's how I took it. And, that doesn't have to happen on the show. I don't have any, expectation that I'm going to interview somebody and they're going to be my buddy. But, man, Geoff Tate and I, we had a lot in common. You see, Geoff, he tours with Tom Segura. So and he's a very frequent guest on Your Mom's House with Tom and Christina, if you know that show. He's been on WTF with Mark Maron. He's been on the Bertcast. He's been on Doug Stanhope's podcast, Never Not Funny with my buddy Jimmy Pardo, and just so much stuff. The Late Late Show, and he's got a million comedy albums. You hear us talk about that. How'd you end up with all these comedy albums out there? You've been doing comedy that long. You'll hear his answer to that question. Very prolific comedian. We'll also hear about his love of Star Wars, which is something we share. And we'll nerd out a little bit about Star Wars on there. Great talk about comics and notebooks. What is in a comics notebook? Let me put it to you this way. If you've never been around comedians, and if you are, and you think it'd be interesting to flip through a comedian's notebook, don't. Let's just put it to you that way. But Geoff had a great story about that. There's drug stories. Geoff talks a lot about his history of doing acid, and that makes its way into the comedy. Now he's more of a pot guy. He does some pot shows I saw on his Instagram. But Geoff is super funny, just telling weird stories about things that happened to him in his life, and his reputation precedes him. I think you'll hear me call him your favorite comedian's favorite comedian. I think that's safe to say. I really, really enjoyed talking to Geoff. Really looking forward to the shows this weekend. So without any further ado, let's get you going with Geoff Tate. Here it is, folks. All right, ladies and gentlemen, on the other end of my line, it is a pleasure to talk to Geoff Tate, our headliner this weekend. Geoff, welcome to the Comedy Castle podcast.
Oh, hello. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man, it's good to have you. I was unfamiliar with you and your work until this week. I'm a fan now, though. I'm a fan now, though, dude. I love it. Yeah. And I'm finding all about you, and it's like you are everybody's favorite comedian's favorite comedian.
Oh, yeah. Thanks.
Is that safe to say? Is that a cool thing to have, right?
Yeah, it's pretty good. I mean, that's all it's not the best, but it's like, that's what they said about like Warren Zevon. So I'll take it.
You'll take it. The Warren Zevon of comedy. That's not the worst title to have.
Yeah. Oh, hell no, man.
You could live a little longer than Warren Zevon. It'd be nice.
Yeah, I don't have that much more till I break his record.
Good to know, dude. But yeah, it's been a pleasure, man. Just it's one of the things about this job that I love is that, I know a lot of comics. I'm a comic myself and stuff, but then it's like, I've never heard of this guy. Let's get into this guy's career. And it's like all these comedy albums and he's doing all, it's like, man, it's such a cool thing to find, listen to everybody's stuff.
Oh, thanks, man.
Because you are so prolific with the comedy album thing. Tell everybody about that. How does that happen? Because, comics, they'll put out a thing every couple years maybe or whatever, and you got a million things out there.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it really, the numbers picked up in 2020. We were doing we did a project with the label that released a bunch of things that had been recorded that had not been released.
Yeah.
So that really fluffed those numbers. So that was eight of the 12 are from that.
Yeah, the hindsight. What is it called? The hindsight.
Hindsight 2020. That was our
pandemic project. Cool.
Yeah, I mean, we had it on the books. We were like preparing for it before any of that happened. We had no idea, and it worked out for me because it helped. It kept me doing stuff.
Right. Yeah, so
and making some money.
Yeah. Now, are you a big recorder of shows? Are you someone that like tapes every set, or how's that work?
No, I don't do that. I just know if I'm at a place that has the capability to just record off the soundboard, and I could get legitimate like quality recording, then I take those, and then So that's what we had going into 2020 was a bunch of those.
Yeah.
And went through them and found the ones, some of them were whole albums that we just didn't release.
Oh, okay.
For one reason or another. And some were ones. I have this tendency to, if I lose the list the joke is on, then I lose that joke forever.
Okay.
So going through those old recordings, there was stuff on there I just didn't remember at all.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah. And then, like, it's funny you talk about the notebook thing. I was watching your clip about the lost notebook on your Instagram today. That's such a thing about comedians' notebooks. And if somebody finds them, oh my God, with the things they'll see.
The terror I felt when I didn't have it.
Yeah.
The like projected shame of when I'm going to have to look someone in the face that's seen what's inside this.
Yeah, we find those in the green room. I also work at the club, and we're cleaning out the green room any night. And we find these notebooks. No one seems to put their name in them, and so you have to sort of read the material to figure out which comic it is. And you read stuff, and you're like, "This is kind of racist. I don't think this was anyone on the show tonight." This is like,
right?
Just all kind of unhinged material in those notebooks that never made it to the stage.
Yeah, that's what the notebooks are for.
Yeah.
That's the first line of defense between what's in your head and what's in the mic. That's why you can't let them out.
Yeah. I would just put your name on the front. There's even a little spot on there on a lot of them, right? Put your name on the front. Guys don't do it.
I know, man.
Yeah.
I think I put my name on mine, but like it's on the inside back cover, so it's harder to find. It's just so I can prove it's mine.
That's
I want to keep it as deniable as possible.
Oh man. Oh, and this is a true. Okay, here's a true story. I meant to open with this, but this is, and I'm sure you've gone through this or had a similar experience in your life. But I'm working in the showroom, and the manager Dave, he waves me into the office. So I'm like, all right, what do I do now? Like I'm in trouble, right? But I go in the office, and he's on the phone with somebody. He says, I got a guy on the phone. He wants to know if this Geoff Tate is the singer from Queensryche. And I go, no, different guy, Dave. Tell him. I go, well, tell him it is the guy from Queensryche. I don't know.
Oh, you have no idea, man. I blame Henry Rollins for this.
Oh yeah.
Before Henry Rollins, nobody would have assumed that I was that guy. But because the Henry Rollins that comes to the club is the same one you think it is.
There you go. Yeah. Henry Rollins stand up. Spoken word, which is, spoken.
Yeah, I mean, it's not funny.
Yeah,
but
that's what I mean. Spoken word reads stand up. That's not funny, I think, in a lot of cases. But yeah, Geoff Tate, singer from Queensryche, is out there doing shows. And even I think when I was looking for your albums, it was like, okay, go to the artist of this Geoff Tate album, and it's it's the singer from Queensryche's picture, and your album's underneath it.
Oh, I know, man. It's they don't. The confusion between us has gone on forever.
Yeah,
there was a period of time where VH1 Classic had like a links page to like artists' tour dates.
All right.
That they would show, and they would show my dates under his name. That was a fun thing to find out.
Maybe you guys should get together, man. Two Geoff Tates.
We've met.
Oh, have you?
Yeah, it wouldn't work.
He's a Seattle guy, right? Queensryche, I think. No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's I used to, when I lived in Cincinnati, there was a morning radio show where I was friends with the guy that had it, so I would do that show a lot.
Yeah.
And then one day he called me up and was like, "Hey, the guy from Queensryche is going to be here this afternoon. Will you come in and do it? It'll be funny." So I went in too, and when that was over, because most of that whatever session or whatever his radio spot was the two of us talking and nobody else. And when he left, everyone at the station was like, "That was the nicest he's ever been." It kind of my existence sort of takes him down a peg.
Yeah,
it's hard to be so cocky when he knows
Yeah.
that he knows that I know that people get us confused.
Yeah. And the fact
So
that
he can't pretend it doesn't happen.
right, because as Queensryche's, I don't think he's in Queensryche anymore, right? So as their popularity wanes and your popularity grows, you reach that inflection point, right? You reach that point where the two cross.
Oh yeah, we've done some of the same venues. We're getting to that point. He's at the back end of his bell curve.
Yeah.
And so there's been both of us at the same, on the same calendar before.
Yeah, I saw that band in probably 1990. The Joe Louis Arena, downtown Detroit.
Oh, holy moly.
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't a real fan going into that show and wasn't a real fan coming out of that show, but I saw the show.
Were your tickets free or you wanted to see the
open? It was like, I used to hang out, like, I was into, live music, and, that was a really great time for music. And so, like, the guys that you go to all these shows with these guys, and someone was like, we're going to go to Queensryche, man. They're playing Operation Mindcrime all the way through. And I was like, yeah, I guess I didn't know what Operation Mindcrime was. I was like, yeah, that'll be cool. I didn't know what I was doing. So I said, yeah, it was like $20, right, to go or something. It wasn't like expensive. So I was like, yeah, I'll go to that. And it was boring fucking prog. I want to be Pink Floyd metal.
Oh yeah, it's not good.
It's not good. I mean, whatever.
Like, it's not for me. Let's say.
Yeah,
that.
Exactly. It wasn't for me either. But I was like, this must be cool. It's they had that Silent Lucidity. Remember that song? That was like a Pink Floyd ripoff thing. That was a hit.
Oh yeah. That was a song everybody thought was Pink Floyd.
Yeah, everyone thought it was. Yeah, Pink Floyd wasn't around, so they just kind of did that. But yeah, not really my thing. But yeah, I went to a lot of metal shows and stuff. I'm not really a metal guy, but I had fun at them. Metal shows are fun.
Yeah, I mean, it has to be very bad for a live show of any kind to just not be fun.
Yeah, right. Theirs actually was just kind of dull because it was like we're playing this whole album, and I didn't even really know the albums.
That was when I finally was like, because I found out about that guy when I was 10. And so when I was finally old enough to like get albums, I was like, let me see what this one's all about. Finally see what he does. And I got Operation Mindcrime, and it was like, oh, this is the only album. This is the only album that ever gave me nightmares. What are you doing? How did your songs fuck up my sleep?
Yeah. I mean, they got their fans, man. They got their fans. Let's not put them down too much. Hey, but let's pivot on music. I through your Instagram. You're a big Tom Petty fan. I am a Tom Petty fan myself. And yeah, you said the only reason you sound Southern is because you love Tom Petty.
I mean, it must be. I've never lived in the South, but I get that Southern accent thrown at me a lot. And it's my best guess is just 35 years of singing along to Tom Petty songs.
There you go, man. Yeah, Tom Petty
it has to be that. It's the only thing it could be.
Tom Petty was awesome, man. I saw a couple of his shows, but
oh yeah, I think I was at 18.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah, I missed one tour since '99, and then some of them I got multiple. I was able to see a couple shows on the tour, and it was the worst. It's the only like celebrity thing that really bothered me.
Yeah, it was a bummer, man. I mean, come on, Tom. But nobody knew that he didn't have that reputation. You know what I mean? As like a drug guy, and then he died of drugs.
Yeah, but he died of fentanyl.
Yeah.
And then he was taken because he did a tour with a broken hip.
Oh,
like that's what it was. He was going into surgery 2 days later.
What a shame!
And that was it. He was just trying to like deal with this pain. He had a fractured hip, and did 44 shows.
Wow.
And then just had 2 more days to go.
Yeah, I saw Petty and around that same time as Queensryche, 1990. Saw the Full Moon Fever tour twice.
That would have been dope.
How's that sound? That was good. Those were good times. All right, let's get into more comedy stuff. I mean, Cincinnati. We mentioned Cincinnati, right? That's where you grew up, and you were in Midwest here in Detroit. Tell us about starting comedy in Cincinnati. Is that where you started?
That is where I started. It was when I started. It was a whole different vibe of like the way comedy went. You know, there was, at the time there was probably maybe 20 comedians in town.
Okay. Yeah.
Like just total, just open micers, guys that could host, guys that could middle. There was not a lot.
Yeah.
And it was good. And I got lucky because when I started, a couple other guys started right around the same time. They all had the same goal.
Yeah.
And so that made us all, like, we all got better than we would have gotten independently. You know, the guys, it's hard to go do an open mic and have somebody go up and actually do 5 new minutes and then not do that yourself.
Yeah.
So we were just able to push each other in the rising tide or whatever. Like, if it wasn't for those guys, like, Cincinnati, the club, everything plays a part, but it's those guys that did it.
Yeah.
And we are, 20 years later, we're all comedians now.
Right.
Like it happened.
Yeah. Good class of comedians, we say, in the business.
Yeah. Me and Dave Waite and Ryan Singer.
Yeah. I know Dave Waite I've met and worked with. Yeah.
Oh yeah, there's a guy that Mike Cronin was part of that group. He started a little after me, but
Cronin's been on this show. I love that guy.
Yeah, he's great. He showed up and a few years after we started, but created some more, put some more energy into it. Made us all
right.
Like it's all part of it. It all happened because we were all there at the same time. So
that's terrific. Yeah, the guys you start with, you always got that bond with the comics you started with. Yeah, terrific.
And now, it's like boot camp.
Yeah, and now I feel like comics that get started, there's just so many of them. It's hard to get that thing where I think about my career and I was like, well, geez, I was emceeing at the Comedy Castle after like a year, and these guys now it takes them 5 years to get to that point just because there's hundreds of them.
Yeah, so many. There's so many that like top out at that level.
Yeah.
And then why would they don't get out of the way.
Right. Well, there's just not stage time for people.
Yeah.
There's
that's what I mean. That's what I like about Portland is how much stage time there is. I mean, the number of comedians is absurd.
Right.
But they do.
Yep.
Do you guys have a funniest person contest in the summer?
We do a thing called the Detroit to LA Comedy Challenge where we send somebody to LA every year to do a bunch of shows, and that thing takes about 4 months.
Yeah. Okay. So yours has a slightly better end point. But every town does this, and the last 2 years, the Portland one has had roughly 275 entrants.
Ah, wow.
And that's the people that will do the contest. That doesn't count.
Yeah.
There's a whole level like above, like there's like 30 or 40 comics that are just like, no, that doesn't do anything for me.
Yeah. So these are the newer comics, or are these,
basically
season? Yeah.
I mean, some it's their first time, and some it's, they've been doing it for 7 years or whatever.
Yeah.
But that's just such a crazy high number.
It is. And then, you try to go, and then because I teach comedy class, and I always tell my students, I'm like, if you want to do a contest, that's cool, but don't expect to win. And I think sometimes when I tell people like don't have this expectation of winning, they actually go into it and they'll win it, maybe because mentally they didn't expect to win. And then I always see people like, yeah, I have that attitude, and then they don't win, and then they're mad they didn't win.
You just have to look at it like, because it kind of takes over the scene for the summer, like right. the club's Mike's opportunity tends to go down.
Yeah.
So if you do it, it's like your goal is to get to the second or third round or whatever, just for stage time.
Yeah.
Just to get that quality. The room will be full. You'll get a good tape. Like, there are things that are under your control. And go get those things, and then let whatever else happens happen.
Call in every friend you've ever known, every guy from work.
Yeah.
Have them come watch you come in fourth place.
Yeah. While simultaneously being the only reason you came in fourth place.
Yeah, maybe. Oh man! All right, I got to pivot to this. I got a couple other topics I wanted to hit, and I think we could. They're sort of, they sort of have a point where they cross over here. We got to talk about drugs. You talk a lot about drugs. Are you an advocate for drugs? Would you go that far as to
I would
say
say I would say I'm an advocate for a specific one.
that? So it's acid?
No. It's
no.
the only one
marijuana.
Yeah, that one. The other ones are you make the call. I had some fun. I didn't. But there's one where I'm like, no, this one is actually like it's better for you than drinking.
I agree with that. As I'm not really a drug guy, but yeah, pot's all right. You know, has acid given you the most comedy material? Would you say over the years?
I mean, I think it's given me probably the best comedy. Like, and I mean, when you do it like that, I would probably have to say my dad.
Okay, yeah, your dad.
The most,
but as far as
the most memorable,
as far as a drug, though, yeah,
the most memorable ones are a couple of acid stories.
Yeah. Well, I watched the Star Wars story. Yeah, it was so funny, dude. It was unbelievable.
Man,
you got to watch
that.
Should
have lived it. It was awesome. For a couple of seconds, all my dreams came true.
Oh my God, I can't, and I don't want to ruin the bit. Maybe I will have played it. I don't know if I could play that before the interview in post to set it, but you just go watch it on YouTube. That's my suggestion. It's
Oh, maybe I'll go watch it on YouTube and break it out one time this weekend.
Please do, man, because it's I don't know how close we are in age, but Star Wars has been a huge part of my life. I'm still a fan. After all the times they've tried to kind of murder it without thinking they were doing something good. But, and I feel like I saw a Millennium Falcon around your neck at one point. I mean, come on. Tell us about your Star Wars fandom.
Well, that's the first movie I ever saw.
Oh, okay. There you go. In the theater.
No, I'm not that. I'm just too young for that.
Too young, yeah. I saw it in the theater, but I was like 5 or 6, but yeah.
Yeah, so you got a couple years on me. I saw it on HBO. We had it on somebody my parents knew had HBO, so they recorded it off on a VHS or whatever. And I remember being probably 3 or 4.
Okay, yeah.
Is how early I can get. That's so it's at the very least, it's the first movie I remember watching.
Yeah.
And it's still to this day probably the movie I've seen the most.
Sure. Yeah. I would probably say that too. I'd say I've probably seen Star Wars more than anything. And of all the Star Wars movies, that's the one I've seen the most, is the first one for me.
Oh yeah. I mean, I'll never top it. The first 5 years or whatever of having that movie, it was the only one we had.
Yeah.
I probably got 1,000 viewings in before I watched another movie twice.
Yeah, it was. People don't see now. I think with kids, I don't know. I don't have a kid of my own that I can sit in front of the TV at the same age I was and said, "Here's Star Wars," and I don't know how that would hit them if they've seen Marvel and if they've seen other stuff. I just don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea what to start with now. What do you?
But I mean, I think the power of that movie, just the way the whole generation of guys of a certain age, it's like Star Wars is number one, and like nothing's even really close. People don't get that.
No, and I have a different view of all the stuff they keep putting out because the bar I needed to clear is much lower.
Okay.
Because I just want to see more stuff.
Yeah, I get that.
Like, it was kind of like the original, all that. Like, it was super cool. I loved it, but it was like George Lucas thought like his planets were like, what if one was the desert and one was wintertime?
Yeah,
and one was the woods, and now we get to all this stuff. Whatever's going on, there's so many more planets and worlds and cities and like ways of life that you get to see, and that's what I find the most interesting and fascinating. Sure. And that's why I've liked everything.
You like everything. I watch it here. My delineation, because I watch everything. Here's my exception: is I don't do the animation. Oh
man, that's a bummer.
Really?
It's hard to it takes a lot to get through the way it looks, because it's all computer generated stuff. But that second, the one called Rebels, is such a good story.
Well, maybe I got to get into that.
I did it because I started watching the cartoons because I didn't like episode 9, and I was like, maybe if I expand what I know about it, it'll make more sense.
Yeah, I mean, I watch them and I go, this one will be good, and then I watch it and I'm like, yeah, they did one good. But then again, I always here's how I resign. I'm a fan of Star Wars. That's what it is. What would I make if I had to make a Star Wars? And I go, I couldn't make anything as good as the stuff they're making, so let's just watch the stuff they're making. Let's not get upset about it. I couldn't do any better, and most people couldn't do any better.
Yeah, most people can't.
Yeah.
It's reasonable to. Right. I mean, when we say most people can't, obviously, even some of the people that are doing it can't.
Yeah, that's right. And they're talented, and they're more talented than I am. So come on. It is what it is, man. They're making their money, and somebody's liking the stuff. Somebody's liking it enough. If you're a kid and the first thing you watched was one of those Disney series, you might be into Star Wars. That's a cool thing.
Oh yeah, there's like the number of people that are younger than me that I know. I mean, because in comedy, it doesn't. There's no.
Yeah.
It's some of my friends are 25.
Yeah.
And if they, when they're into it, it's because of like the Clone Wars or whatever. Like,
right.
It's a thing I didn't even know about until 10 years after it was over.
The prequels. That's why we hear young people. I got into that. I got into episode 1. That was my, all that stuff. I was like, really? Okay. A Phantom Menace was your entry. I worked. There's a comedian I know. I did some podcasts with this woman, but she had Star Wars. She wrote like fan fiction about young Anakin Skywalker.
Oh wow!
I was like, wow, that's hardcore. I was like, look, you're younger than me. I know what kind of Star Wars fan you are. And she goes, I have fan fiction about it. I'm like, you're in. Come on, come do the Star Wars podcast with me.
Oh man, I know a guy that wrote a full script for what he wished episode 3 was, and it was just a horror movie of Darth Vader going around killing Jedi. Which happens in the timeline. It's just kind of mentioned. It's alluded to as in he's about to do this or he's already done it. They never show the thing. And there was in the timeline, there was a period of time where he's like Michael Myers or whatever, just traveling around and killing. So he like wrote this horror movie script, basically. I find that stuff fascinating.
That's
you won't
great.
let me read it. I just know the premise, so I think about it a lot.
Yeah, there'd be an audience if they ever did make something like that, but it also they hold Star Wars is very near and dear to Disney at this point, so I don't think we're going to get that officially, but who knows? You live long enough, there you go. You get anything you want.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, at some point they're just unleashing a hard R rated version of this.
Yeah. Oh, all right. Well, let's preview this weekend a little bit. What do you got for people coming out? It's it's winter. It's cold. You can't really do anything outside. Why should they come to the Comedy Castle this week to check you out?
Well, I assume that you've been open a long time, so I bet you pay your bills. There's going to be heat. It's going to be heat.
There's going to be heat. Yes. Sometimes too much heat, sometimes not enough, according to the people that tell me.
Oh, yeah. Everybody's got their different opinions, but we know it's going to be on.
Better than outside. Okay.
Better than outside. There's food, there's drinks, plus I'm hilarious.
Yeah.
It's meant to be a distraction. So even if I got a bit where I'm making a point, you don't know it till it's over. This is all just meant to be kind of an escape, and that's what I'm hoping to. Because that's what I want now too.
Yeah. When you're talking on stage, you don't have to worry about whatever's going on in the world.
Yeah, and everybody's thinking about what I'm talking about. So why would I talk about something I don't want to think about?
Yeah, I agree with that, man. That's great. I mean, that's why we do comedy, right? You want to You want to, let people know what you're thinking about, and when they agree with you, it feels nice.
Yeah, I got some good bits now, man. I got some of them are thinkers, but not these like dumb stoner guy stuff where you're like, oh, I never thought of that. That's what I hope for.
This came up this past weekend with the headliner, but is there a show that you feel, we've got the Thursday show, we've got the early and late show Fridays, early late show Saturdays. If there was a show that you said, I'm Geoff Tate, I'm a this show comic, which one? Which is the one to see? What?
Oh, that's hard to do. I would say that I can tell you which one takes which is the one that I have a slightly different approach to.
Okay, what's
How about that?
Yeah.
I have a different approach to Saturday First than the rest of them.
All right.
The Saturday First is the weekend equivalent of New Year's Eve.
Okay, I get that. Yeah.
So it's
couples,
yeah, it's couples. It's the weekend. It's the thing they're doing. So they put a little bit like the audience puts a little more pressure on Saturday First. And when you don't, when you're coming up, you don't realize that. You just always get told about Late Show Friday.
Late Show Friday.
But Late Show Friday is a disaster or can be traditionally, but the same reason is why there's no reason to put pressure on yourself.
Right.
For like, they're not, so you don't, what I mean? Like you could approach it, you hit them where they live.
Yeah.
The Saturday First is the one where, I give it the Saturday First, clean it up a little bit. That kind of thing.
The comics really dealt with, they went from a great early show Friday to a late show Friday that was not all that attentive and not all that helpful. And boy, oh boy, they were kind of rattled by that one. But yeah, some comics loved. When I was touring, I loved the Late Show Friday. I felt like Late Show Friday, you're up for anything. They never were offended. They never clutched their pearls or groaned at anything. They were up for anything. I love the Late Show Friday.
They're paying attention just enough to laugh and not enough to fucking really click what you just did. So I think all my Friday Late Show trepidation was before I started touring, and just because of what I've been told. Yeah,
they make that out. They make it out.
You get out there and realize, oh man, I mean, Saturday First can be the best show.
Yeah,
but you have to know the vibe.
Yeah. Saturday First show, that's the best attended show, but is it the best show? Is from a performer's perspective? Not always.
Yeah, no, and if you hit the Saturday First with the same energy you hit Friday Late.
Yeah,
it's going to be different. And then whichever one you did, if you hit Friday Late with the Saturday First energy, it's not going to work either.
Right. And then a lot of people love Thursday. People take Thursday and they're like, well, that's where I'm trying the stuff out for the Friday and Saturday. Like I'm going to get a little experimental on Thursday. Some comics do it that way.
Oh yeah. I mean, I've heard that. I don't, I claim to do that, but the truth is I was just going to do it all the shows anyway.
You're doing it all. We're doing it all. I know. You're a pro, man. Come on. You're a pro. People love you. Come on.
Yeah. I mean, the off nights do tend to be where the regulars come in. Clubs that have Sunday nights or Thursday nights or whatever. That's more of a we come every Thursday or we come every Sunday. And those tend to be like that vibe is a real yes, you can get away with stuff.
Yeah.
You can try things. They're into comedy itself.
Thursday's the night people come that are real big fans of that comic. They don't want to wait till Friday night or Saturday night to come. They come on Thursday. Yeah,
it's great. So I'm looking forward to that one. I'm looking forward to all of them. It's going to be a good time. The guy that's opening for me, Dan Seabury, he's a fantastic, hilarious comedian. He's also super into Star Wars, so once we all get in the same room, the three of us will have a ball.
Look out. Yeah, there you go, man. Well, I'll be seeing you this weekend. So looking forward to it. Thanks for talking to me, Geoff. It's going to be a great weekend, man.
Oh, thanks for having me, man. I can't wait to meet you in person.
Sounds good,
see you
dude.
on Thursday.
See you Thursday, Geoff. All right, take care, buddy.
All right, later, man.
Bye-bye.
All right.
Yeah, that was fun. Good talk. Geoff Tate. Loved it. Really looking forward to these shows. Going to be a great weekend, as we said. I think we said this off the air, but no Lions this weekend. Congratulations to them on winning that big game on Sunday night. So there's no Lions game. No excuse to not come out this weekend. I'm sure there's other reasons to not come out, but look, you heard me interview Geoff. Go check out. I mean, that Star Wars story on Facebook just killed me. It was so funny. And again, that's drugs and Star Wars coming together in one hilarious story. And he's got just albums and albums of this stuff. I was listening to it, getting ready, and it's wild. So really looking forward to Geoff. Hope you enjoyed that interview. So get your tickets for any of those Geoff Tate shows. Doesn't matter, like you heard, late show Friday, Thursday, early show Saturday, hey, whatever. Geoff's game, they're all going to be great. We also want to let you know about the advanced comedy class. That is starting this weekend on the 11th. As of this recording, I believe there's maybe 3 spots left. So if you're a comic and you've done some comedy and you wanted to take the advanced comedy class, I haven't offered one since, I don't know, when we ended, November or something? October, November. It's the first one in a while, and the next one's not till mid-March, so you got to get in on that. Call the club at 248-542-9900, and we can sit and talk comedy every Saturday afternoon, work on your stuff, go to some open mics together, and tell some jokes, and really get you good. You know, hey, Dan Britton, that was my guy, right? One of my students, headlining the Comedy Castle. 3rd one last year. So proud of him. And, yeah, I mean, it's going to be a great time. Geoff Tate, this weekend, comedycastle.com has your tickets. Let's get out of here for this week. We're going to be back with another show next week. Got something special lined up for you next week. I'll let you guess. I'll let you think. You can probably figure it out, right? You can probably go over to comedycastle.com. Oh, who's performing next week? Oh, I see what he's doing. That's a good one. Yeah, it's a good one, too. Geoff Tate, catch him. We'll catch you later, guys. Bye-bye.